I've been having the same dream for a month now. In the dream, my late grandpa looks at me anxiously. He keeps repeating the same phrase. Hide. 30 days left. Hide. 29 days left. Hide. 28 days left. My grandpa was a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. He knew a bit about mysticism. When he was alive, he treated patients and told fortunes. He was pretty accurate most of the time. As he got older, he had a fall and a brain hemorrhage. He didn't make it after being taken to the hospital. He passed away. The night of his burial, I dreamed of him. Grandpa just moved to another world to continue living. I wasn't sad. When I missed him, I'd just go to sleep, and he'd visit me in my dreams. I don't know why Grandpa keeps visiting my dreams like this. After having these dreams for several days, I told my parents. Then my younger brother said, he's been having the exact same dream. We exchanged a look. Our expressions turned serious. We usually watch the news every day, keeping up with national affairs. My brother also checks out international news on YouTube to understand what's happening abroad. I told my brother to pay more attention to the situation overseas. Meanwhile, I was thinking, should we start preparing some tools for self-defense and food? In the end, I thought it's better to make some preparations in case of an emergency, and we end up in danger. We just moved into a new house 2 months ago. Since the new house is near the national highway, from upstairs you can still see cars driving on the freeway. My dad works in construction. The new house is self-built. The design and renovation of the house were all arranged by him. My mom is a light sleeper. She wakes up easily at night from noises and can't fall back asleep during the renovation. Considering this situation, the house was soundproofed very well. Once you close the doors and windows, you can't hear a thing from outside, and no one outside can hear you cooking inside. The only shortcoming of the house is the security doors and windows aren't installed yet. Dad took on a lot of projects. Back when we were building our own house, several construction sites were going at once. Our own house was put last. We picked a good day and moved in. We'll deal with the security bars later. The security bars for our house need to be installed first. What if a thief comes to steal something one day? A thief climbs up. Without security bars, the house isn't safe. This house is in a remote location. The fence needs to be raised. Yeah, safety first. I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night by noises outside anymore. Dad contacted a technician to come install security windows. I told him I wanted the best quality security windows available. Money is no object. The glass needs to be explosion-proof, and all the doors need to be replaced with the highest quality security doors. The technician took the job. He said it would take about 10 days to make and install them. We paid a $50,000 deposit up front. Our house is in a pretty isolated spot. It's close to the highway exit, only about 200 or 300 meters away. There are only a few other houses nearby, and they're not right next to each other. We built a wall 3 stories high around the property, and installed surveillance cameras all around it. The technician installing the security windows came to install the doors and windows on the 7th day. Seeing the wall we'd built, he couldn't help but ask, "That's quite a wall you've got there. Worried about thieves or snakes getting into the house? So you built it extra high?" The look on his face was basically, "I think your family's crazy. Like, seriously messed up." I quickly settled the remaining balance. Since we were a big client and a repeat customer, he rounded down the total. We paid $250,000. We also rushed to have a main gate made for the wall. We were worried about not having a place to dry clothes when it rained, so we wanted the top of the wall covered with glass. Also the best explosion-proof material. The technician promised installation in 3 days. At that moment, we still had no idea just how much protection this wall would provide for us. Later on, 3 days later, the technician came to install the wall's gate and the explosion-proof glass. During those 3 days, besides following domestic news, we also checked international news online. All we saw was country end jumping around all day, starting wars everywhere, and profiting from arms sales. Nothing else stood out. Half a month passed. Everything was calm. No major incidents. Except Grandpa was still counting down every night. Get ready to hide. 12 days left. Sis, come look at this. I heard my brother call me downstairs. He showed me his phone. It was a foreign website. There was a video. The video was shot from a hidden angle. It was shaky, but you could see clearly. It showed the inside of a lab. Several people in hazmat suits were holding down a woman foaming at the mouth. Another one held a syringe and was injecting her with something. Who knows what it was? She quickly went still. Then, just as quickly, she started convulsing again. Blood started pouring from her mouth. After 5 or 6 seconds, she stopped moving again, but you could see the blood vessels under her skin, pulsing rapidly. Her skin turned a sickly gray. She looked like a corpse about to decompose. The woman opened her eyes. Only the whites of her eyes remained. This woman had turned into a zombie. Suddenly, the woman broke free. She grabbed a nearby person in a hazmat suit and bit him. Others grabbed the woman, trying to pull them apart. Chaos erupted on the scene. The bitten man's arm was covered in blood. He broke free and retreated behind the others. Then he collapsed to the ground. The others quickly pinned the woman down, trying to restrain her, to stop her from moving. Behind them, the bitten man lay on the ground. He started convulsing too, just like after the woman convulsed. The exact same changes happened to him. The people in front were busy holding down the struggling woman. No one noticed what was happening behind them. The convulsing man stood up. No, you couldn't even call it a man anymore. It was a monster. It lunged at the person closest to it, knocked them to the ground, and bit into their neck. The rest of them scattered and ran. They looked like they were trying to get out the lab door. They desperately pulled open the lab's heavy door, REB, and ran out. The monsters from the lab also burst out. They attacked anyone they saw. Total chaos. One monster charged straight at the camera. The lens flipped. It fell to the ground. All you could hear was heavy breathing, and blood splattered onto the camera lens. Everything turned red. The video fizzed and went black. I was scared into a cold sweat. My whole body was trembling. My little brother saved the video. Then he quickly hugged me. It's okay, sis, don't be scared. It's just a video. Probably from a movie. It might not be real. After calming down a bit, I got a hold of myself. I called mom and dad, telling them to come home right away. It was hard to explain over the phone. I knew it wasn't a movie, because I saw it. Back when Sakura country invaded our nation, the letters on that lab were exactly the same. While mom and dad weren't back yet, I searched online for essential supplies for pandemic home quarantine. I took screenshots and saved them to my phone. Then I took stock of what food we had at home. Since we live close to the market, we usually buy fresh meat and vegetables every morning. A trip to the market daily, buying small amounts frequently. After taking stock, I made a list. Half an hour had passed since I called mom and dad. They came home one after the other. My little brother showed them the video. Mom was also frightened after watching it. Dad's expression turned grim. Is this real? If it's real, we have to start preparing now. Grandpa's nightly countdown. Could it be because of this? Possibly. Grandpa has never said anything like that in a dream before. And I saw a line of letters next to the lab. They were exactly the same as the letters on the lab from when Sakura country invaded our nation. Then let's get moving right now. We have 2 cars at home. Ching Ching and your mom will take one. Dang Dang and I will take the other. Now we split up and go shopping. We need to stock up on everything. Dad, I searched online for a list of pandemic essentials. I sent a copy to my brother. Let's go buy stuff in the next town over. Don't buy anything in our local town. If people ask, they'll recognize us. That could be trouble. Alright, let's split up and start shopping right now. Your mom has a card. It has over 700,000 on it. WeChat Pay has about 100,000 too. Let me know if it's not enough. After Dad finished speaking, he took my brother, grabbed the car keys, and drove off. Mom and I also drove to the neighboring town. Dad and I went in opposite directions, shopping in different towns. The trip only took half an hour. Dad drove a large truck, which he usually uses to haul renovation materials and tools. I drove a 9-seater minivan. Dad uses it to take workers to construction sites farther away. Last year, I ran a fast food restaurant in the neighboring town. I kept it open for about half a year, but due to poor management and intense competition, I couldn't keep it going, but I still have the supply channels and their contact information. I contacted the rice shop owner, and he prepared the same type of rice I used for my business. I told him to give me the freshest stock. I also contacted the frozen food and dry goods stores. So I contacted everyone I could. I asked them to arrange the goods by tomorrow, and told my dad to pick them up. Mom and I headed to the clothing wholesale center and the big supermarket to buy supplies we couldn't get through our contacts. We didn't get back home until 8 p.m. Dad and my brother had already brought back a truckload of goods. Our car was too small, so we had to wait for Dad to drive and pick up the rest tomorrow. It took us 2 hours to unload all the supplies into the first floor hall. The place was packed full. Mom designated areas. The 2 rooms on the first floor for rice and water. Frozen meat goes into the freezers and fridge. The brand new equipment I bought for the business. I couldn't bear to sell cheaply when I closed shop, so I hired a moving truck and brought it all back. There were 2 6-foot-long freezers and a large 4-door refrigerator. We also had a 2-door and a single-door fridge at home. So in total, we had 5 refrigerators, perfect for storing frozen food. That night, Grandpa's dream came as expected. Hide. Quick, 8 days left. Grandpa's dream came again that night. Hide. 8 days left. The next day, we got up very early. We moved the soil and vegetables from the empty lot outside to the open space inside the walled yard. The flowers in the flower bed were also pulled out, all replaced with vegetables and fruits. Mom is a master at growing vegetables. Since moving into the new house, we haven't bought any greens. The family keeps 5 egg-laying ducks and 4 chickens. They had enclosed the adjacent empty space and kept them inside. Today, Dad worked on the open space inside the walled yard. He used sheet metal and steel bars to build an enclosure, making a shelter for the chickens and ducks. After driving them inside, he even locked it. By the time we finished, it was already noon. We made a simple meal. After eating, Dad drove his truck again and took my younger brother to town to pick up supplies. The goods I ordered yesterday were all ready. Just just waiting for them to bring them back. Mom and I went to another town to raid a big supermarket. They have everything there. When passing by a pharmacy, I suddenly remembered. The list didn't include any medicine. I worked at a pharmacy for 2 years, so I'm fairly familiar with common household medications. For minor illnesses, we usually just get our own medicine. When we got home that evening, we continued unloading the truck. Earlier in the afternoon, Dad had already made one trip back. The father and son unloaded all afternoon. After resting for half an hour, they went again and brought back another load. After unloading, Mom and I took charge of inventory. Now, with these supplies at home, we have 250 bags of rice and 40 boxes of salt, 50 containers of soybean oil, 10 boxes each of other seasonings, 40 boxes of dried noodles, 600 barrels of bottled water, 200 pounds each of various dried goods, 50 bottles each of bath products, 200 sets of towels and toothbrushes, 20 winter coats for each person, slippers and cotton shoes, 50 sets of pajamas, socks, and other wearables, 10 large boxes of various medicines, frozen items like chicken, beef, and pork, filled all the refrigerators, 300 bags of cat litter, 20 drones, 1,000 pounds of chicken and duck feed, 80 boxes of alcohol, 6 telescopes, 20 walkie-talkies, various instant foods and snacks, fruit cans, and 30 boxes each of meat cans and instant noodles, 10 large boxes of winter supplies, and so on. In the dream that night, hide, 7 days left. In a dream at night, take cover, 7 days left. Dad, Grandpa's dreams are getting more urgent. We're running out of time. Tomorrow morning, I'll go get a generator and weapons. You guys keep stockpiling supplies. Dad got the rest of the equipment for power generation, restricted tools for self-defense and knives. We had solar power installed at home earlier, and an air source water heater, so even without water, a power outage won't be a problem. It took 2 days to get all the missing supplies. Everyone took stock, registered everything, and sorted them into rooms. We stored the supplies separately. We put sticky notes on every room, so with one glance, you'd know what supplies are inside. Dad also built a pond in the yard to raise fish. Dad went to the market and bought a bunch of fish and fish feed. He installed the aerator. The fish went into the pond. That night we went to town to pick up the goods. We searched for the video online again, but we couldn't find it anywhere. That video from that day. Luckily, my brother saved it on his phone. We sent the video to our close friends and siblings. We told them to stock up on more supplies. We're not saints. We could only tell a few friends close to us. We hinted to strangers that the pandemic might get serious. Stocking up on more supplies is never wrong. My brother majors in computer programming. One of his classmates specializes in hacking and is pretty good at it. We asked him to send the video and an email to the central authorities. We just hope the people at the top see it and take it seriously. Investigate it. There's nothing else we can do. We can only protect ourselves. Take cover. 3 days left. Hide. Quick. 3 days left. Bulletproof glass has one drawback. It's see-through. We put one-way privacy film on the glass, so you can't see inside from the outside. To be extra safe, we also hung thick blackout curtains. We didn't hang curtains on the glass walls, though, since we still needed sunlight to get in. The fruits and vegetables need photosynthesis to grow healthy. We tried making noise inside the house and within the walls, banging gongs, making sounds, firing up the generator, cooking, to test the soundproofing from outside. The results were pretty good. It was deafening inside, but you couldn't hear a thing outside. That eased our minds a little. Dad took a careful look around outside and thought the walls could use some reinforcement for better security, so we set up an electric fence. It took 2 days, but we finally got it done. The voice in the dream sounded even more anxious. Hide. Quick. 1 day left. The soundproofing is fine. The electric fence is on. And now we're just one step away. We just had to wait for the last day Grandpa mentioned to pass. Everyone in the family was sore from the intense moving and organizing we'd been doing every day. We slept soundly, but once we relaxed, our bodies gave out. I took a chilled drink from the fridge and poured a glass for everyone. Mom was making breakfast in the kitchen. Watching Mom skillfully light the gas stove and cook, I realized we hadn't prepared the things we needed for cooking. I told Dad, and he grabbed a piece of bread, took a few bites, then drove out to buy gas and smokeless coal. At home, it's always Mom and Dad who cook. I don't know any of this stuff. What do we need to prepare? Dad gave his workers a break 4 days ago. He settled their wages for that period. He also mentioned stocking up at home, but we don't know if his co-workers have stocked up on supplies. Beyond that, we can't really say. My brother uploads videos on various websites every day. Uploaded videos. But every time we check the next day, the videos were blocked. There was also one that had a screenshot of a video with a pixelated image. The message was, don't spread rumors, don't believe rumors. In peaceful times, don't create panic, don't stir up public sentiment. 2 hours later, Dad came back. He rode around town. From what he saw at the grain shops and the market supermarkets, they were all packed. Many people were carrying large bags out. I think the videos we post every day had a little effect. Plus, the news also reported that the pandemic is getting worse in some places, telling people not to wander around. Hopefully, People in other regions see this and stock up on supplies too, to survive as best they can. After lunch, we checked every floor. We pulled down the blackout curtains, checked the surveillance cameras around and on the roof. We moved the car into the yard, spread some fallen leaves and dust at the entrance, to make it look like a house that nobody lives in. Turned on the electric fence around the wall, closed the gate, locked it. Dad was upstairs with a telescope, observing the situation of nearby neighbors. Dad is upstairs with a telescope, observing the situation of a few neighboring households. The children of those families usually live in the city, only returning home for a few days during holidays, and the adults are also away. About an hour after we finished cleaning up, Dad noticed that 2 households had returned one after another, driving 4 or 5 moving trucks. The 2 families and the drivers helped unload the goods. The rice and water we could see alone took up 3 trucks. It's now around 4 in the afternoon. After unloading, the neighbors drove out again. I guess they must have insufficient supplies, so they went out to buy more. Today is the 11th day of the 6th lunar month. We turned on the air conditioner at home, checked all the lights, and only left one warm-colored floor lamp on. The wall is built high, so to observe the outside, we have to go to the 4th floor. After 10 p.m., the 2 neighbor families returned, bringing back a few more truckloads of supplies. By the time they finished unloading, it was already 11:50. Dad and I each leaned against a window, turned off the lights, and lifted a corner of the blackout curtain, observing them with a telescope. Perhaps after the tension, they relaxed, and wanted to have a midnight snack and rest. The neighbors set up 2 tables at their doorstep, and brought out a case of beer. The 2 families started serving food, while already playing a drinking game. My younger brother came running upstairs, sweating profusely. Sis, I just had a dream of a sea of red, with so many people crowded together, the ground covered in blood, and lots of severed limbs. There were cries, gasps, and screams everywhere. Sis, it was terrifying. Dad and I exchanged a glance, then checked the time. It was 1 minute to midnight. We continued counting down, while observing the neighbors and the highway. Traffic conditions. Mom came up too. Suddenly, a loud bang. Suddenly, a loud bang. The sound of screeching brakes and crashes followed one after another. A pile-up on the highway. It was chaos. Some were crying out, others screaming. We saw people trapped in their cars, unable to move. Some of the wrecked cars were completely crushed. Blood seeped through the gaps between the cars, and flowed onto the ground. People with minor injuries climbed out of their vehicles. Some called the police. Others dialed for an ambulance. The scene was total pandemonium. And then, more cars crashed from behind. One car was already on fire. Sis, look. The first car up ahead. Dad and I looked over. The windows were shattered. The doors were badly mangled. From the driver's seat, only a half-bodied monster crawled out. A monster from the passenger seat also scrambled out. They weren't moving slowly. The passenger side monster lunged at the nearest injured person. It started tearing into them. In just about 10 seconds, the bitten victim also turned into a monster and lunged at another person. It was like hell on earth, like cell division. In less than 3 minutes, everyone we could see at the scene had turned into monsters. Neighbors heard the commotion and ran upstairs to see what was happening on the highway. They were all horrified. 2 of them covered their mouths and started sobbing. Soon, the men snapped out of it. They rushed downstairs, grabbed all the food and drinks from the table, and brought them inside. They closed the doors and windows, and drew the curtains. But they didn't turn off the lights. Sis, should we warn them? No. Making noise will only attract the monsters. They didn't realize the most critical mistake. They left the lights on. We didn't know if the monsters outside were sensitive to light. But in a society without order, what's truly terrifying isn't just the monsters, it's human nature. In the distance, police sirens wailed, and ambulance sirens echoed. The monsters rushed toward the sound, heading in its direction. We couldn't help but mourn for the townspeople. We just hoped they would notice it immediately and hide somewhere safe. None of us could sleep. In the end, we agreed that 2 would keep watch during the day and 2 at night to get the latest information from the surrounding area as soon as possible, for safety. My brother and I would take the watch together. My parents would take the watch together. My father and I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. The town had become a living hell. At this point, the drone couldn't see what was happening on the streets either. It was dark, and visibility was poor. We checked the doors, windows, and blackout curtains again, making sure there wasn't the slightest mistake. We convinced my brother and mother to go to sleep. First, screams, cries, and curses. The night passed amidst these sounds. The next day, before the sun had even risen, we sent out the drone. We found a high-rise commercial building, and landed the drone on it. OSD. The sun rose. The drone started working as well. I piloted the drone toward the densely populated residential area. The drone's footage came back. The streets were covered in blood. The scenes on the streets and in the residential areas were exactly the same as in my brother's dream. The roads were a bloody red. I thought those who had turned into monsters must have been the people who worked night shifts and ate midnight snacks. When they encountered these monsters, they must have been terrified and desperate. Mom and my little brother got up one after another. Dad and I were pretty exhausted too. We did a quick handover. What's the situation outside now? After finishing breakfast, we went to take our rest shifts. When I woke up, it was already 4 p.m. While my little brother and mom were on watch, nothing happened. Because the location is pretty remote, there aren't many people around here. Those creatures haven't gathered here yet. We're still safe for now. We just ate something light to fill our stomachs. Dad and my little brother projected the surveillance feed onto my brother's 2 computers. At the compound's main gate, I installed hidden pinhole cameras. I was being cautious here. I was afraid the wall cameras would be too obvious and get sabotaged on all 4 sides of the wall. I also installed hidden cameras. Mom and I, meanwhile, filled every bucket and pot in the house, all with water, in case the water gets cut off someday. Even though we have plenty of bottled water, we still need to use it sparingly. If the power goes out, we're not worried. We have solar panels and a generator at home. If we conserve, we'll have enough electricity to make scouting easier. We scout from the 4th floor. The surveillance is on the 3rd floor, and we cook on the 1st floor. Now, when meals are ready, we take turns going downstairs to eat. I used to run a stall in town. For about 3 years, I've joined over a dozen local chat groups. After finishing up, I checked the group messages. Mostly, people are talking about creatures attacking, the injured turning into them, lack of supplies, and missing family members. That kind of news. I didn't say anything. If people knew I existed and had this many supplies, my family would be in danger. After all, treasure invites trouble. In chaotic times, people who just want to survive have no humanity left. We held a small family meeting. Since we don't know when normal social order and life will return, we need to plan ahead for many things. Starting today, each person trains for 1 hour daily to stay in shape. Starting today, everyone trains for 1 hour every day to keep our strength up. When my younger brother was in school, he was on the judo team. He even won some awards in competitions. I used to work out at the gym for a while. We also have some exercise equipment at home. We require everyone to train for 1 hour daily. We're not asking for high-intensity workouts, but we need to maintain a good level of physical fitness. A healthy body is less prone to illness. In harsh situations, it gives you a better chance of survival. We don't know if the government has taken any measures. Maybe it's because our town is too remote. We can't get the latest updates. We can only hope the government finds a solution soon. I wonder if they can develop a cure. We took out the walkie-talkies, tuned them to the same channel, one for each of us. Mom and my brother are on watch duty today. We went downstairs to check on the chickens, ducks, and the vegetable garden. We're getting 6 or 7 eggs a day now, steady. Our supply of protein and vitamins should be enough for the next few months. The walkie-talkie crackled to life. Ching ching. Come quick. Get up here. There's something going on. My brother and I ran upstairs. Mom had seen something. One of the families that returned yesterday. There were 2 moving trucks parked at their door. They helped them move their stuff back yesterday. 3 drivers got out of the trucks. They were ringing the doorbell. We couldn't hear what they were saying. We saw the 3 drivers getting more and more agitated. 2 of them got back in the truck and grabbed 3 fire axes. All 3 got out, axes in hand. They started hacking at the family's door. What they didn't notice was the monsters on the highway, wandering around like headless flies, were quickly moving in their direction. The door was broken, and the 3 workers entered the house. We couldn't see what was happening inside. What we could see was that about 10 monsters also went inside. 2 minutes later, the monsters came out, and among them were 5 familiar faces. 3 were the moving workers, and the other 2 were the elderly parents of that family. That family had 5 members, a young couple, their elderly parents, and a child around 10 years old. We didn't know if the young couple and the child had hidden inside the rooms. I figured if they didn't come out, they'd be safe for now. After coming out, the monsters slowly wandered around again. First entry, monsters discovered. They have keen hearing. Discovery time, 7 p.m. Dinner's ready. Come down and eat. After eating, we went upstairs to relieve Dad. I picked up the binoculars and continued observing the neighbors. They didn't show up downstairs tonight. Maybe they were observing too, with the lights off. In another house, a room had a light on. Several monsters, drawn by the light, climbed up the security bars toward that room. Through the window, I could see shadows of people moving behind the curtain. Perhaps hearing the noise, the person inside pulled back a corner of the curtain and peeked out. The monster had just climbed up to the window, resulting in a face-to-face encounter. The woman inside fell to the floor. Judging by her mouth movements, she seemed to be screaming. The monster outside went even crazier, desperately clawing at the window behind the bars. Streaks of blood were smeared across the window. The light inside went out. Maybe the person inside quieted down, and the monster also quieted down, hanging there motionless. My brother and I also took turns resting for a bit. At the crack of dawn, I woke up, washed my face, picked up the binoculars, and took a look at that house. The monster was still hanging there. After a while, the woman who screamed last night appeared on a floor above, where the monster was. She gently opened the window, preparing to look down. What she didn't know was that, as she thought she was opening the window, quietly, the monster downstairs stirred. What he didn't know was, just as he thought he was being quiet, and opened the window, the monster downstairs stirred, and then quickly began climbing up. Just as the woman leaned her head out slightly, the monster had already reached a point less than 8 inches from her. She leaned out, and was scratched by the monster's reaching hand. In her terror, she didn't even bother to close the window, screaming as she ran into the next room. The monster didn't leave either. It just hung by the window, gripping the security bars. The window was left open, so I could clearly see what was happening in the hallway. A few people came up from downstairs, 2 men and a woman, holding brooms and mops. They forcefully pushed the monster clinging to the security bars. Down. The monster fell down, twitched on the ground, then crawled forward a bit. It probably broke some bones, but it didn't die again. I looked back at the window. The 2 men and woman opened the room's door, and went in. The scratched woman lunged at one of the men, and collapsed in the doorway. Her upper body was exposed, on the hallway floor. As the woman tore into the man, blood splattered on the ground. The man and woman inside the room grabbed their brooms and mops, and struck at the woman outside the door. But it had no effect. A few seconds later, the woman and the man on the floor charged into the room. After a while, I watched as the man and woman came out, staggering. They had all turned into monsters. Log entry 2. Discovered monsters are phototropic, can climb, and may retain some obsessions or memories from their past lives. After all, it hung by the window all night without moving, staring intently at it. They seem to remember things from their past lives. It seems they still remember their past lives. That's why they keep guarding that window. I'm glad I built that high wall back then. No footholds, and added an electric fence. Keeps out both monsters and people. At dawn, Dad took over for me. Around 11 o'clock, the house that got hit first yesterday started making some noise. Probably needed to go down and deal with the door. The man went up to the roof, tied a rope to a pillar, lowered it to the 2nd floor and secured it. Then he went back down. Their car was parked in the open space by the gate. He carefully stepped out through the broken gate, got in the car. Besides the other house, there was a monster writhing by the door. The nearby monsters were gone. Probably wandered off somewhere else. The man turned the key and started the engine. It was really loud. Dad saw monsters in the distance, drawn by the noise. The man noticed them too. He stopped being quiet, quickly blocked the gate with the car, climbed out through the sunroof, stood on the roof, grabbed the rope, and climbed up. Monsters swarmed to his door. They started climbing up the security bars too. A matter of life and death. The man climbed like crazy, always keeping about a meter between him and the monsters below. He made it to the top floor, didn't even bother pulling up the rope, went inside and locked the door, pushed a table against it, then closed the curtains. After that, we couldn't see anything. Dad was on edge the whole time. Only when the curtains closed did he finally relax. I had a dream. The weather was clear. I was by the sea. The beach was covered in shellfish. Then the scene shifted to the town. Seawater flooded in. Tall buildings collapsed. Countless casualties. Floating on the water were many animal and human bodies. Woke up with a start, drenched in cold sweat. Sat up and took a moment to calm down. Then checked the weather forecast. Earthquake and tsunami warnings. We're only 40 minutes from the beach. The recent forecasts have all been sunny, 26 to 35 degrees. I comforted myself, thinking it might be too much psychological stress. 2 days passed peacefully. The 3rd day was exceptionally muggy. In the evening, a brilliant sunset glow appeared. I was in a bad mood, because sunset glows often signal a typhoon. Sure enough, light rain started at midnight. The rain grew heavier, when it should have been dawn. The sky was still gloomy. The trees downstairs were whipped wildly by the wind. The temperature dropped to 22 degrees. No longer hot. The typhoon had arrived. Blood-stained clothes, debris and old roofing sheets were blown everywhere. We placed our drone on the roof of a commercial building, under a heavy desk, leaning against the wall, hoping it would still work after the typhoon. Heavy rain fell for 3 days and nights. Dad was a bit worried. The town's drainage is poor. A few years ago, there was a major flood. Back then, everyone was prepared, and a few people still died. The rain gradually lightened, but before we could relax, hail started falling. The hail grew larger, from the size of peanuts to the size of fists. We quickly took out winter clothes to keep warm. The temperature plummeted. Not keeping warm in time could easily lead to illness. Dad grew increasingly worried. He feared both casualties in the town, and the hail shattering the windows. I thought bitterly, it'd be best if all the monsters were smashed to death, even though I knew it was impossible. After the hail fell for over an hour, the rain stopped. We tried to operate the drone, but there was no response. It might have gotten water damage and broken, so we switched to another one, and sent it out while no one was looking, to observe the town's situation. The drone flew to the town. The footage it sent back brought tears to our eyes. The footage we received brought tears to our eyes. The water on the streets rose to the height of a one-story building. The water was stained red. Countless bodies floated on the water's surface. The glass windows of the buildings were mostly shattered by debris swept up by the typhoon. We saw a few families on the rooftops, spelling out SOS with red cloth, but we were powerless to help. The monster was nowhere to be seen either. The drone circled around, but saw nothing. The drone flew to where it was hidden before, the drone's location, and found that drone. It wasn't damaged by water ingress, but was violently dismantled. Suddenly, a figure emerged from under the table, reaching out to grab the drone. I quickly maneuvered the drone to gain altitude. That was the town's notorious thug. He had been imprisoned for rape and assault. His eyes were sinister, filled with murderous intent. He pointed at the drone, grinned, then went inside and downstairs. I flew the drone to another high ground, to ensure it wouldn't be touched again. We looked at each other, feeling a sense of unease. Does he know which family we're from? What do we do? His eyes are too terrifying. Will he find his way to our home? Don't worry. Our doors and windows are reinforced, and the walls are high. He can't get in. I exchanged a glance with Dad, thinking it might not be that simple, but we can't tell Mom. She's easily scared. We're afraid she'll overthink things. I glanced at my brother, and gave him a signal. He understood. He checked the doors and windows at home, and outside the walls, the surveillance and electric fence. Dad fell ill. He developed a high fever at night. At home, we depend on him. He's the pillar of the family. As long as he's here, I won't be afraid. I think the main reason he fell ill was due to excessive worry and the sudden change in weather. I took out from the medicine cabinet fever reducers and sedatives, and administered them to Dad at staggered times. Less than half an hour after taking the sedative, Dad fell asleep. Dad's fever wouldn't go down. My brother, on his own, took on the duty of keeping watch. Dad's fever just wouldn't go down. My younger brother took on the duty alone. Mom and I got some strong liquor to wipe Dad's palms and soles and forehead to cool him down. We kept wiping for about 2 hours. Dad's fever finally subsided. I checked the time. It was already 4 a.m. I made some cold medicine. I watched Mom drink it and then urged her to bed to get some sleep. I was afraid she'd get sick too. I'm young. Staying up is no big deal. Seeing Dad's fever had gone down, and he was sleeping peacefully, I moved a chair next to him. I closed my eyes for a bit, and fell asleep too. Soon after, I heard Dad asking for water. I quickly got up, and poured him a cup of hot water. Dad drank it and fell asleep again. I rested a bit and felt more awake. I checked the time. It was 5 o'clock. I made myself a cup of coffee. I went upstairs to take over from my brother. He also needed to rest. Around 7:30, Mom woke up. Dad had sweated a lot. He said he felt much better. We were relieved. After breakfast, Mom took over from me, and told me to get some sleep too. Seeing things were stable, I went back to my room. Sister, something's up. I woke up immediately, thinking of that man from yesterday. I quickly washed my face and sat by the monitor. The devastation after the typhoon and hail didn't appear at our house. The glass on top of the wall was just scratched. Everything else was intact. The man stood outside, looking at the monitor. He rang the bell. We didn't answer. He rang several times. We didn't answer. The man was furious, and smashed the door and wall monitors. The monitor screen went white. We quickly switched to the pinhole camera to keep watching his actions. He rang the bell again. Dad also came down from upstairs, and joined us. We exchanged a glance, and answered the call. We exchanged a look. I answered the call. I know you have a lot of food in your house. Don't deny it. I was right there when you were moving in. I saw everything from the construction site upstairs, 300 meters across from us. There's an abandoned building. The owner was planning to finish it, and sell it as a commercial property. It was built but never finished. The owner gambled everything away. Then he took out a loan on the house. Lost it all down to his last penny. He jumped from the top of that building. Died from the fall. No one wanted to take over that building, so the government put it on hold. What do you want? I don't want anything. Just give me some food. Dad, we can't give him anything. That would mean opening the door. He's not a good person. His intentions can't be pure. If we open the door, he'll force his way in. Our lives would be in danger. If we don't give it to him, he can't get in. As long as we don't open the door, we're safe. I agree. We shouldn't give him anything. If we give in once, he'll come back for more. If we show ourselves to him, we won't get out of this alive. Look at his hand. He's holding an axe. He's hiding something behind his back. We can't open the door. He's lying. We can't give him anything, and we can't let him in. We said in unison. The man rang the doorbell again. Hand it over. I came alone. I'm no danger to you. We're not giving you anything. Go away. What did you say? You motherfuckers. You don't want to do this the easy way. You're asking for trouble. This is our home. Our things. We're not giving you anything. With that, We hung up. The man grabbed a fire axe and started hacking away. He hacked for a while, but the door only had a few scratches. He turned and left with the axe. Stay alert. He'll definitely be back. We just don't know what he'll do next. We need to watch outside even more closely these next few days. We went upstairs and told Mom what happened. After hearing it, Mom passed the binoculars to Dad. Jangwo, take a look at the abandoned building across the way. Dad looked for a few minutes, then handed the binoculars back to me. My younger brother also picked up a pair. Look at what's inside there. Are those the monsters? I can't see very clearly. My brother and I looked carefully at the shadows across the way. They moved very slowly. The noise from when the man was chopping at the door must have disturbed those creatures. Some had slowly made their way to the door downstairs. Maybe because of the distance, the man didn't notice and left. The noise stopped, and the creatures didn't come over. They are those monsters, and there are a lot of them, but they move sluggishly. Could it be because the weather is too cold? After the hail, the temperature dropped to just 1 to 3 degrees Celsius. We had the heater on at home, and we were wearing winter clothes. We didn't feel the cold from outside. Let's keep watching for now. Let's make something to eat first. We've had a bit of sun these past 2 days, but the sunlight isn't strong. The temperature has risen to 11 to 13 degrees. The creatures are moving faster now. The rainwater on the ground has evaporated. 3 days had passed since the man first came. We didn't let our guard down. During our watch shifts, we stayed highly alert, guarding against whatever that man might do. At 10 in the morning on the 4th day, the man came. Seeing him arrive, we actually felt a sense of relief. It's impossible to stay on guard forever. You can't be vigilant every single day. Knowing what he's going to do is much better than not knowing and worrying all day long. My brother and I sat in front of the monitors, watching the man drive a beat-up truck to the gate. The man swaggered out of the vehicle and spat at the main gate. The creatures in the abandoned building heard the truck's noise and slowly began to move. The creature in the abandoned building hears the car. It slowly starts to move. He opens the back of the pickup truck and pulls out a bucket with a lid. He carries the bucket to the perimeter wall. He unscrews the lid and starts pouring the liquid along the wall. Oh no! He's trying to burn us alive. We quickly turn on the walkie-talkie to tell Dad. Dad watches as the creature emerges from the building, but there's no sound to attract it. By the time the creature reaches the house, the fire will already be lit. Little brother thinks for a moment, then goes into the room. He grabs a speaker and plays a deafeningly loud song called Good Day. Little brother then goes to the next room and gets a drone. He attaches the Bluetooth speaker to the drone. There's a 10-second gap before the song starts. Once the song finishes, it stops playing. This works to our advantage. By the time the man finishes dousing 2 walls, he's almost done with the 3rd. Little brother immediately launches the drone. We start counting down, while keeping a close eye on the man and the creature wandering nearby. Just as he turns to get more fuel, the speaker blares to life. The creatures charge toward the sound. The drone quickly flies toward the man. Seeing this, he drops the fuel can and rushes back to the driver's seat. The truck struggles to start. The creatures are already within 2 or 3 meters. The man yanks the steering wheel, steps on the gas, and runs over a few creatures as he speeds away. One creature almost grabs the door handle. We watch intently, hoping the creatures will take him out. Seeing him shake off the pursuit, we can only sigh in disappointment. Sis, look, the truck is slowing down. The truck really is slowing down, and it's lost control. It drives straight into a ditch next to the slope. The truck flips over. We stare nervously at the pickup truck, its wheels still spinning. Suddenly, the battered door. A hand reaches out. The man slowly crawls out. Halfway out, he starts convulsing. A few seconds later, he turns into a creature. The man, now a creature, still manages to crawl out in the end. The man who became a monster. He eventually crawled out. After crawling out, he wandered to our doorstep. The other monsters didn't leave the doorway either. We discussed it, using a drone, to lure these monsters back to the building across from us. My brother repeated the same maneuver. The monsters rushed toward the source of the sound. The drone finished playing the song on top of the unfinished building. Then it returned. The monsters also climbed up to the rooftop. We watched, horrified. It turns out that during the windy rain a few days ago, many monsters had hidden inside that unfinished building. Recorded discovery number 3. Cold weather suppresses the monsters' movements, slowing them down. We feared that as the sun grew stronger and the weather dried out, the areas splashed with oil would ignite spontaneously. Dad was alone, on the 4th floor, continuing to observe the surroundings. The 3 of us went up to the rooftop. We used the water stored in the pool from days before, pouring bucket after bucket down below. But this was far from enough. We had to go downstairs first, then figure out another plan. Late at night, winds started blowing outside again. Then a light rain began. Even nature was helping us. Are there still survivors in town? Our excitement, our mood instantly sank. We felt uneasy. Time passed like this for over a month. The most chaotic period had passed. This rain lasted a week. The temperature dropped again. After the rain stopped, we operated the drone to patrol around town. No signs of survivors were found. I hope they went elsewhere, rather than dying in these successive disasters. Life returned to calm, except we couldn't go outside. Being at home was pretty much like usual. Another month passed. One morning while fetching water, we found the water had become murky, and a foul odor assaulted our noses. One morning when I was getting water, I found it had turned murky, and a foul smell hit me. Another week passed. The power went out, and the internet was cut off. We started using a generator. During that time, we handled the frozen meat from 3 refrigerators, taking care of it all first. Everything was focused on saving power. Left by Grandpa before he passed away, the medical books and documents became Mom and Dad's spiritual sustenance. My brother brought out the professional knowledge he had learned, and started studying it from scratch again. I also had plenty of spiritual sustenance, a whole bookshelf full. Recently, Dad discovered that the neighbor's husband, wife, and child were all alive. We were relatively safe. They were quite cautious. 2 days ago, the sun came out, the weather was nice, and they opened their curtains a bit. Dad found out, and we were all happy. That way, we weren't alone anymore. They must have ample supplies, since we never saw them venture out, and we never saw them ask us for help. One day half a year later, a helicopter passed over our house, which was good news. Another 3 months passed. A huge explosion sounded. My sister was in the military, and the troops arrived. We watched from upstairs, as the troops, armed to the teeth, exterminated the monsters in the unfinished building. The troops left some supply packages near us, and then departed. We heard the sound of rapid gunfire, coming from the town's direction. A week later, peace returned to the town's direction. The drone went to the town, and found about 10 households, with survivors on the roofs. Although there weren't many, we were thrilled. 2 months later, the power came back, and our phones could connect to the internet. We received a text message. Hello, survivor. We are personnel affiliated with the state, directly assigned to contact you. We hope you'll reply when you see this, to let you know we're safe. We will airdrop supplies at designated points. Please give us a little more time. Soon, we'll be able to step outside our doors, and bask in the sunlight, free from threats to our lives. Our supplies are enough to last us for a very long time. So after we reported we were safe, we added that we didn't need supplies. Another 3 months passed. A drone captured footage of a military unit entering our town. A helicopter circled overhead, broadcasting a message. All survivors, please come out of your homes. The danger is gone. Spring has arrived. The state has come to rescue us. We really made it through. 6 months later, the disaster caused by the biochemical leak still hadn't completely subsided. For safety's sake, we never left home. The disaster claimed 1/3 of the nation's population. Industry and agriculture ground to a halt. It wasn't until power and the network were gradually restored that we were able to contact relatives in other areas. My uncle's family in the mountains was safe and sound. Their area was barely touched by the creatures. In fact, the state had already taken note earlier of the biochemical research abroad. The emails we sent further raised their concern. After an emergency meeting, barriers were set up at the borders, but they couldn't completely stop malicious infiltrators. The creatures landed from the sea. The coastal regions suffered especially heavy losses. After the state monitored the situation, they immediately deployed from the central government outward, initiating cleanup operations and vaccine development. We were at the end of the line for inspections. By the time the troops reached us, we had already spent half a year in isolation at home, living off our stockpiled food. During that time, we underwent testing and vaccination. Now, the few remaining creatures along the coast were quickly eliminated. No new outbreaks occurred. On the Double Ninth Festival, we went with our family to visit Grandpa's grave. If it weren't for him, we might have long since become one of those creatures.